Long ago, in a peaceful mountain valley, hidden beyond the reach of cities and noise, there was a serene Zen monastery called the Garden of Still Waters. Monks from all over the region came to study under the wise and compassionate teacher, Master Hanji, a man known for his deep insight and piercing clarity. His teachings were simple but profound, anchored in the wisdom of Gautam Buddha. Among his disciples were two promising students, Koji, charismatic and eloquent, admired by many, and Renji, quiet and observant, often seen tending to the temple garden or helping the elders without being asked. The villagers spoke of Koji as a rising spiritual star, handsome, generous with words, and always present during celebrations. Renji, on the other hand, remained in the shadows, content to work, learn, and reflect in silence. One day, a young traveler named Mika arrived at the temple, troubled and seeking clarity. She had been betrayed by those she once trusted and carried heavy questions in her heart. "Master Hanji," she asked, "how can I learn to identify those who are not real? People who pretend to care, but harm with hidden motives." Master Hanji simply said, "Stay, observe, and walk with us. In time, the truth always removes its mask. What unfolded in the weeks ahead would become a lesson Mika would never forget." Chapter 1. The Smile That Vanishes. Koji welcomed Mika warmly and offered to show her around the temple. He told her about Zen, about breathing, detachment, karma, and peace. He smiled often and laughed with ease. But Renji remained distant, focused on his tasks, occasionally nodding at her with a quiet smile, never forcing conversation. One morning, Mika overheard Koji laughing with other disciples. She approached, only to realize they were joking at the expense of another monk's accent and simplicity. Koji smiled at her as she approached and said, "We must find lightness in life, sister. Don't be so serious." She smiled back politely, but something inside her stirred. Later that day, she passed the kitchen and saw Renji quietly repairing a broken pot someone had thrown out. He wasn't talking. He was working, careful, patient. That night, she asked Master Hanji, "Why does Renji not talk much? He seems aloof." Hanji replied, "The false rush to be seen. The real quietly serves. One gathers crowds, the other gathers understanding." Chapter 2. When Truth is Inconvenient. A week passed, and a mistake occurred during the morning meditation setup. The incense was placed in the wrong direction, facing away from the shrine. Koji stood and proclaimed, "This is not my doing. Someone less experienced must have made this error." Renji quietly stepped forward and bowed. "It was me. I did not check the wind." The room was silent. Koji patted him on the back. "We all make mistakes, though some more than others." That evening, Mika asked Hanji, "Renji took the blame so calmly. Why didn't he defend himself?" Hanji looked at her with knowing eyes. "The fake fears being seen as flawed. The wise know a moment of blame is lighter than a lifetime of pride. Truth does not tremble under accusation." Chapter 3. Gifts of the Snake. One day, a wealthy merchant visited the monastery, seeking blessings. He brought with him silver coins, silk robes, and rare teas. He bowed before Master Hanji and said, "I offer these to support your wisdom and to thank you for your teachings." Hanji smiled gently. "We accept what is given with a pure heart." Koji stepped forward and spoke eloquently on behalf of the temple, praising the merchant and accepting the offerings with a charismatic charm. Later, the merchant handed Koji a hidden pouch, whispering, "A little something for yourself. You deserve it." Renji saw this from a distance but said nothing. That night, the merchant was found robbed along the path. His silver coins gone. The guards investigated, and suspicion filled the air. Koji stood before the monks, innocent-faced. "I know nothing of this. I was meditating in the Eastern Hall." Renji came forward. "Master Hanji, I found this in the grass." He held up the pouch, now empty. Koji looked away. Hanji spoke softly. "Sometimes the truth speaks not with words, but with what is left behind." Koji was asked to leave the temple. No public shaming, no yelling, just a quiet walk down the path he had once strutted with pride. Chapter 4. Real recognizes real weeks past. Peace returned. Mika, now clearer in her mind, began meditating regularly and helping Renji in the gardens. She noticed how he treated even the smallest flower as if it were alive with meaning. How he never boasted, never gossiped, and never took more than he needed. She remembered something Koji once said: "The more people admire you, the closer you are to enlightenment." But with Renji, there were no crowds, just stillness. One day, Mika asked him, "Why are you always silent? Don't you want to teach others what you know?" Renji looked at her and said, "If a flower blooms in a forest and no one sees it, is it less beautiful? Teaching doesn't come from speaking, it comes from being." She nodded. She finally understood. Chapter 5. The bamboo mirror master Hanji summoned Mika on her final day at the temple. He handed her a small bamboo mirror carved by Renji. "In this mirror," he said, "you will not see fake people, you will see yourself. And when your heart is still, those who are false will reveal themselves without effort. You won't need to judge, you'll only need to observe." He paused, then added, "Fake people need an audience. Real ones need silence. Fake people offer promises. Real ones offer presence. Fake people mirror your wants. Real ones reflect your truth." Epilogue. Walking back to the world. After the storm of untruths, the calm of wisdom follows. When Mika descended the final steps of the mountain temple, she was no longer the same girl who had arrived burdened with confusion, betrayal, and a desperate need to know who she could trust. The path she walked now felt quieter, not just because of the forest around her, but because her mind no longer echoed with doubts and questions. The Garden of Still Waters had changed her, not by filling her with answers, but by giving her the clarity to see. She remembered what Master Hanji had said on her final morning. "The eyes can be deceived, but the heart always knows. The only reason we don't see the truth is because we want the lie." Those words echoed in her like a bell struck softly in an empty temple. As she returned to the world she left behind, the bustling villages, the endless chatter, the familiar faces, she was greeted by smiles, questions, and concern. "Where have you been? You seem different, calmer. What did the monks teach you?" Mika simply smiled. She had learned that sometimes the most powerful answer was silence. Not the kind born of secrecy or pride, but the kind that blooms from understanding. She no longer felt the need to explain or convince. The need to be validated had disappeared like morning fog. She noticed the masks people wore, how praise came with subtle expectations, how kindness often came with a debt, how people shared truths just loud enough to be overheard. But she did not judge. She did not correct. She did not try to save them from themselves. She simply observed, like a still pond reflecting the sky, changing nothing, distorting nothing. And it was in this silence that something remarkable happened. The real began to find her. She began to see those who, like Renji, moved quietly through the world. They didn't speak much, but when they did, their words had weight. They didn't promise much, but when they offered something, they followed through. They did not shine to be admired. They shined because that was their nature. And she also saw the others, those who demanded attention, those who changed colors in every room, those who knew just what to say but never meant a word. She no longer felt angry at them. She saw them as children, lost in a world that taught them survival meant performance. They weren't evil, just unawake. Her job was not to expose them. Her job was to stay awake herself, and to recognize that peace doesn't come from calling out the false. It comes from choosing the true. Every morning, Mika looked at the small bamboo mirror Master Hanji had given her, not to examine her appearance, but to remember. When your own reflection is honest, the world can lie and it won't shake you. The truth begins with you. The fake ends where your awareness begins. And so she walked, calm, kind, observant. She spoke less but listened more. She loved more deeply but expected less. She trusted slowly but truly. She had learned the greatest wisdom of all, that the world will always have noise. But the soul only grows in silence. And when you are still enough, even lies cannot stay hidden for long. She didn't need to chase truth anymore. She had become it.